Hey guys, how's it going? And today I'm going to be picking my Premier League player of the season from every club. If you're new around here, subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Let's get into this. My player of the season from every club. I've written them down on this sheet of paper right here. So I'm going to say them one by one and give my thoughts on them. We're going to go from bottom to top. So from 20th place to 3rd place. And at the bottom, we know who was at the bottom. 20th place, Sheffield United. And my player of the season for Sheffield United was Aaron Ramsdale. Aaron Ramsdale had done well for Bournemouth last season, like the season before. Then for this season, he came into a Sheffield United side which done well last season, but they finally just didn't play the way they wanted. They got exposed every single time with the way they played and the amount of shots they faced as well. Ramsdale had to do a lot with the amount of shots they faced. And in my opinion, I believe he's the player. He's the one that did his best to keep the backline intact. Next one, West Brom. My player of the season for West Brom is Pereira. Because Pereira, he got shifted on the right. He's played on the right before, but he's mostly played in the middle. And he's got 10 goal involvements. He's created a lot. Without him creating, majority of the goals for West Brom wouldn't have came. He's underrated in my opinion, and he could do a job at a big club. A club like Arsenal or something like that. Next one. Fulham. And I've put down Joachim Andersen. Joachim Andersen, he's not had the greatest of times in French league, you could say, because it's an easy league. He's done alright, then he didn't play well the season before. Then he got loaned out to Fulham. And yes, Fulham have conceded so many goals, so many shots. And you could say Areola's done well for them. But in my opinion, Joachim Andersen has kept that backline together. He's done well, basically. And there's even Spurs, Arsenal, these big clubs are linked with him. And he could do a job at a big club like that. So for me, Joachim Andersen, he's done well for Fulham. Next player that I've got written down is for Burnley. Burnley ended up in 17th place. They avoided relegation by, I believe it's 11 points. They had hit and miss, but towards the second half of the season, this player had been scoring a lot of goals. And for me, he's the player of the season, Chris Wood. Been scoring a lot of goals, and he's the one that has added those extra points on for Burnley to stay up. He's been the difference maker, in my opinion. I still feel like they do need a bit more of a midfield to support everything, to support their attack and their wingers. But I feel like Chris Wood, he's been scoring goals considering that the other strikers haven't been scoring as much. He stepped it up to the plate. Then we've got Brighton. Player of the season for Brighton, Bissouma. Bissouma's done everything. He defends, he creates, his dribbling numbers, 2.5 key passes, being linked with Arsenal. He's been linked with not just Arsenal, Liverpool won him as well. He's 24 years old, hitting his prime. Just Bissouma for Brighton. He's that player that could literally progress into a big club and do something. Brighton do want £40 million for him. It's understandable why they want £40 million. He is one of their star players and has done well for them this season. Then I've got Southampton. Player of the season for Southampton for me is Ward-Prowse. I know some people may say that Ward-Prowse all his set pieces. But for me, he's also stepped up his creative numbers. Yes, he is mostly set pieces. But he's scored quite a few set pieces. As well as that in open play, he does create a lot. And for me, he's underrated. He's slightly underrated. I feel like He could do a job at like an Everton. For me, he could do a job at like an Everton. And nothing much to say about him. All I could say is that he does have a chance to make the England squad. He's done well for Southampton. He's created quite a bit. He's scored quite a few set pieces. He's been underrated. Because some people may say Danny Ings. People may say Armstrong and all these other players. But no. The driving force in Southampton, for me, has to be Ward-Prowse. He doesn't get enough mention. Next. Crystal Palace. For me, in Crystal Palace's side, they haven't had the best of times. They've ended around that 14th place, 13th, 14th place. And for a club like Crystal Palace, that's fine. But you've also got other players of the season for them that could have gotten mention. Benteke's got like around 8 goals, I believe. He's got a decent amount of goals. He stepped it up this season. But for me, Wilfred Zaha. He's my player of the season. 11 goals in 38 games. I think his best position is a striker where he can have a chance to run at defenders and then go past them and work with Benteke and play off him. But he still creates a lot. For a club like Crystal Palace, he creates a lot. He does a lot of work. And I believe he can step it up to that. So many players can step it up to the next club like an Everton if Calvert-Lewin leaves. You got Arsenal if Aubameyang leaves. Or if Lacazette leaves, you got Zaha that can come in. And you can get him on I believe teams can get him on a cut price this summer as well. 11 goals, 38 games as I mentioned. He scores goals. He creates. He's a decent player. Next, Wolves. It's really hard to choose from Wolves considering that they've had a down season. They haven't done as great. Also, their manager Nuno Espirito Santos has left. He's resigned at the end of, the season just gone. So, it's going to be hard to replace his attacking tactics and the way he's done Wolves, brought Wolves up. And every team goes for a down year. Liverpool done it this season. Real Madrid have done it the last 2-3 seasons, but they've picked up. Every team does go through that down year, so it's understandable why Wolves have gone through that down year. Also, 2-3 months through the season, Jimenez has also had an injury, head injury, so that has affected them. But I believe the young 20-year-old winger, the young Portuguese winger, Pedro Neto, is my player of the season. He's been phenomenal. He runs at defenders. He creates. His dribbling, pace, he's pretty decent. And I still believe that because he's 20 years old, he's got still all that development to do that to make him even better. And he's done it in a Wolves side which haven't been as great. So for me, Pedro Neto has to get mentioned as Wolves player of the season. You could say Podence, Ruben Neves. But I believe Pedro Neto's been the difference maker for Wolves. Like, yes, Podence. But I still believe Pedro Neto stepped it up when it mattered. Next, you got a surprising one. In Newcastle. You wouldn't expect Newcastle to finish in 12th place, especially with the defensive tactics. And we all thought they'll be one of the teams to be relegated. But they haven't got relegated. They finished 12th place. And they took one of Bournemouth's players and he stepped it up in the form of Callum Wilson. He's my player of the season. My player of the season is Callum Wilson. He's got around, I believe, 10 goals this season in a defensive Wolves Newcastle side. He's done well. When it mattered, he scored. His extra goals have been crucial to keeping Newcastle up there. Especially with Saint Maximin being like inconsistent. And he's been relied on way too much. Even Wilson, Callum Wilson, you could say has been relied on quite a bit. But I still believe that he still scored when it mattered. And especially when you don't have a lot of attacking players. You could say Joe Willock's been good. 7 goals in his last 7 games. You could say he's been good. But no. For me, Callum Wilson. For the whole season, has to be Callum Wilson. Then you've got Aston Villa. Aston Villa, Jack Grealish. He's my player of the season. He's created over like 40 chances this season, even way more than that. He's created so many chances. He's also like got over 10 assists this season. He's been that driving force for Aston Villa. Scored some goals as well. Without him this season, without Jack Grealish, you could say Aston Villa could be one of the teams fighting for relegation without Jack Grealish. He's been good. Will he move on? I'm not sure. Aston Villa will demand 70 or 80 mil. And there's not many teams that need left wingers right now. You could say like Real Madrid maybe, if they sell Hazard. But not many teams really need someone like Jack Grealish. So I feel like another season at Aston Villa could do him good. But he is ready to step it up. And I think he should be picked for the England squad as well. He's done well. He deserves it. He can create. He can provide something. So why not? Next, Everton. It's a tough one. You could say James Rodriguez, but then there's been some times throughout the season he hasn't done as well. But considering it's his first season, he's done alright. But for me, Calvert-Lewin. I believe Calvert-Lewin's got around 15 goals this season. And he's around 23 years old. So starting to enter his prime. Got still so much room for development. And he scored so many goals for Everton. He's also another one that should be picked for, the Euros. He's got pace. He can score goals. He's fairly young. Takes a lot of shots. Everton now have that consistent goal scorer after Lukaku left. Because before they went up 2-3 different players, but no one stepped it up. Now Calvert-Lewin has fully started stepping it up. And he's my Everton player of the season. Next player I've got for my Leeds player of the season is Rafinha. Rafinha is creating like 4 chances a game. He's been incredible. You could say Patrick Bamford, Mesliera, their keeper. But their main creativity has came from Rafinha on the right-hand side. He's created like 4 chances of game. He's got pace. And he'd be an incredible cheap option for Man U. Instead of spending like 80 mil on a Jadon Sancho or 80 mil on a Jack Grealish, you can just spend half of that, 40-50 mil, and get a Rafinha. He's Brazilian, he's a winger, he creates 4 chances a game, he gets goal, he gets assist, he's got pace. What more do you want from your winger? And he's had a great season. After that, in 8th place was Arsenal. Player of the season, we all know who it's going to be. It's going to be Bukayo Saka. You could say Lacazette's done alright. You could say Emile Smith-Rowe's done alright. But if you're thinking the whole season, Bukayo Saka. 5 goals in the Europa League, 8 goals in the Premier League. He does need to step it up goal-wise. But he's been one of Arsenal's most creative player. So I'm going with Bukayo Saka. Then in 7th place, you've got Spurs. Spurs' player of the season, Harry Kane. When Spurs counter-attack with Son and Kane, they get goals. Kane stepped it up creative-wise and got, I believe, 13 assists. And he's got 23 goals. He's got the top scorer award and the most assist award in the Prem. 2 awards. Gold, assist, nothing more to say. Harry Kane, he normally gets goals, but he's also got assists. Then you have West Ham. Player of the season for West Ham is Declan Rice. Everyone in West Ham has done well. Ogbonna, Kufal, Antonio. But I believe Declan Rice has been the difference maker in midfield. You could say Thomas Souček, but Thomas Souček also attacks. Because he attacks, I believe Declan Rice holds that defence together. And as well as that, he has done alright attacking-wise with his passing and things like that. Slightly underrated passer in my opinion. And Chelsea want him. Man U potentially could want him. There's so many clubs that want him. And he's just an all-round difference maker in that midfield. Then Leicester. Iheanacho. In this second half of the season, Iheanacho stepped it up. He's got around 13 goals, I believe, in the Prem. Or in the Prem this season. When Jamie Vardy wasn't scoring as much, Kelechi Iheanacho stepped it up. He stepped it up. He's that guy for me. Kelechi Iheanacho. Then, Chelsea's player of the season, of course, has to be Mason Mount. Nothing to say. He creates a lot. He can play in centre mid cam, right wing. And he's been Chelsea's most creative force. Towards the end of the season, Ziyech stepped it up. Kai Havertz has stepped it up. Even Timo Werner, if you see the stats, he's got quite a few assists as well, and he stepped it up. But Mount has been the difference maker. No one else has created as much as Mount, and he's really been that difference maker. Then for Liverpool, Mo Salah. Like when Liverpool needed him most at the start of the season, he was the one getting goals. He also got a few assists. Mo Salah has been Liverpool's just best player this season, especially with their injuries at the back. He's still been stepping it up at the front. Then, Man United, Edinson Cavani. 14 goals in the Premier League. He's been getting in those places at the right time. He can hold up the ball. He's underrated in my opinion. And you may say Bruno Fernandes. You may say Luke Shaw. But I think goal scoring wise, Martial hasn't been as great in the last 2-3 seasons. Cavani stepped it up and being that difference maker. Bruno Fernandes wouldn't have as many assists if it weren't for Cavani's form. Because Rashford couldn't do it himself, get those goals himself. He did need a striker to support him. And now he's got that in Cavani. And then, last, in first place, the Premier League champions, Man City, Ruben Dias. At the start of the season, Man City wasn't as great. But they weren't like mid-table. They were still around that top 8 place, top 6 place. And Ruben Dias has came in for 65 million euros. Strong in the air. Good at the back. He gets in those right positions. And he's kept Man City's defence nice and tight and solid. Especially with Laporte being injured. Dias stepping it up. And throughout the whole season, he's been great. So, there was my player of the season for every single club. Subscribe if you're new around here. Like the video. Peace.